Hello, and welcome to another edition of Only in Illinois, your weekly video recap from Reboot Illinois. I'm Matt Dietrich. Because of the state budget impasse, public colleges and universities in Illinois have received no state funding since fiscal year 2016 began on July 1st. For 125,000 students, the budget impasse has meant that promised financial aid from the state has not been delivered. A group of students were in Springfield this week to talk about the problem. Before the start of the 2015-2016 school year, 125,000 Illinois college students were promised financial aid from the state's monetary award program. MAP grants, as they are commonly known, average $2,700 per student, and for many students are among the main components for paying tuition and fees. But those grants have been caught in the state's budget deadlock, and for many students that means either taking on more student debt or dropping out.
We've got students that are dropping out of school right now that can't afford college right now. At what point do we say, does it have to be all 125,000 students that don't, that are receiving MAP grants that just, don't have the money? You have to figure out new ways to find that or drop out of school. Is that what we call bad? How bad do we want it to get? That's the real question, because it is bad right now. I would argue it's bad right now, and I think the students here would say that it's bad right now. And the things that I hear about what's happening not only to my peers and their programs that they're part of, the jobs that they currently work on campuses that are being cut, all of those things together, I would say, are really bad.
The missing MAP grant funding has been only one source of financial difficulty for public colleges and universities in Illinois this year. In fiscal year 2015, they received $1.95 billion in state higher education funding. Since the beginning of fiscal year 2016 on July 1st, they've received nothing. This has put colleges in the doubly precarious position of operating without state funding and either crediting the students for the missing financial aid or, in some cases, losing students. A week before the students gathered in the State House, Democratic state senators sought support for a bill to restore $168 million in MAP funding.
The state universities and community colleges are, in effect, being treated to a double whammy here. They're not getting their appropriation. As you know, the governor vetoed the portion of the budget that would fund higher education. So they're not getting the money they normally get from the state through those regular appropriations. Now they're also not getting their MAP funds. And that has a real impact on a lot of these schools. And I think typically the smaller the university is and the poorer their student body is, the more dependent they are on MAP grants. And it's not just the big state universities. There's over 100 institutions of higher learning that qualify as MAP recipients in Illinois. So a lot of the smaller private university and colleges are impacted by this as well. We're not only hurting the students, we're not only risking losing them, having them drop out of school and potentially never coming back, we're hurting institutions throughout the state, institutions that in a lot of cases are economic drivers.
I was told this morning by representatives of Chicago City Colleges that Chicago City Colleges lost 1,200 students between the fall semester and the current spring semester. And those officials attribute that to the absence of MAP funding.
The Rauner administration, however, has said the colleges need to demonstrate some financial restraint to make them more affordable to students. Scandals at Illinois colleges and universities over excessive administrator pay and exorbitant severance packages have brought these issues into the spotlight. One school, Chicago State University, has said it won't be able to make payroll in March without state funding. In a sharply worded memo, Rauner's Deputy Chief of Staff, Richard Goldberg, cited numerous examples of mismanagement at Chicago State. 2 days after the students' press conference at the Capitol, Rauner himself criticized Chicago State when asked about funding for it and other Illinois public colleges.
Well, I don't think that's accurate. I care very much about the students at Chicago State. I'm an advocate for low-income students. I've personally funded scholarships. I have funded, personally donated to historically black colleges. I care very much about the students at Chicago State. They are being failed by Chicago State University. They have the widest achievement gap between white students and African American students of any college. That is wrong. They are failing, and we're not going to tolerate that kind of failure. I am sick and tired of this failure and excuses for it. No, maybe what we should do is take the money we've been sending to a failed institution and give it to the kids and let them choose their school. Maybe that'd be a smarter way to do it.
And that's how things stand now. Nearly 7 months into the budget impasse, and as second semester classes begin, public colleges still have received no funding from the state, and 125,000 students remain without financial aid promised them long before the school year began. That's it for this week. Thanks for watching, and please tune in again next week for another edition of Only in Illinois.